So something that Stephen Dow and I created over a year ago that is wildly successful, but sometimes misunderstood, is something we call the 50-40-10. This is
Right.
basically how you can use creative financing to get into a highly leveraged deal, aka 90%. It obviously requires a seller who is willing to carry a second, as in this
Right.
example, 40. And then, of course, velocity comes in for the first 50. This, again, is just a very simple model. It could be 60-30-10. It could be 75-15-10. But, Stephen, I know this is working. We've seen people close deals. We have a lot of people
Mhm.
making offers. But let's just remind people why this is so powerful.
You got it. First off, although I work very happily for Velocity Bars
I
Capital, all the
forgot.
ideas and topics, that's okay. I was just going to make it smooth and kind of power through this. Although I work very happily for Velocity Bars Capital, all the ideas and topics discussed on this channel, that of my own. Let's get it going. Yes, the concept of that 50-40-10 is so powerful at this stage because the fact that it allows, deals the cash flow from day one with up to 90% leverage or, basically 10% down, given if the circumstances allow, whereas the seller has enough equity and is willing to carry, in any combination with our first and their willingness to carry a second up to a maximum of 90% CLTV or combined loan to value. So I've done, sets up or breakdowns of 42, 48, 10, 65, 25, 10, 70, 20, 10, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it definitely works because again, if you're talking about 50% or sometimes even less of your purchase price at right now on residential, my flow rate is 8.74, but the other 40 to whatever
Yeah.
percent is at sometimes either 1% or less. I've actually had a couple at 0% seller
Yeah.
carry on the second. So from day one, it'll cash flow and it makes sense. And they've got an exit strategy. Sometimes it's anywhere from a 7 to a 10 year balloon, but given the circumstances, it does work if seller doesn't have a specific immediate need for the money. They're not doing some sort of 1031 exchange, something like that. It definitely works.
Yeah, it doesn't work for all situations, but again, the 50-40-10 for me is really anchored on a couple of things. First and foremost, most people never heard of a combined loan to value, CLTV.
Right.
The fact that you're willing to get a CLTV up to 90% should be seen as a gold mine because that means I only have to bring in 10% of the equity. There are, to my knowledge, no non-QM loans and and only conventional with less than 10% or less. So
Right.
this is powerful. And let's be very clear. Most non-QM lenders don't do and certainly don't do 90% CLTV loans. So this
Right.
is why the 50-40-10 that we jokingly call it doesn't have to be that is so
Right.
powerful. The
Right.
second is the math behind a blended interest rate. If you take 50% of your loan and let's just call it 9%, and you take 40% of your loan and call it 1%,
Right.
your blended interest rate is probably in the high sixes, low sevens. That's
Right.
just how math works.
Right.
And the fact that you can still get closing cost credits or any of these other things is just on top of.
Right.
Um, so let's talk about the seller. I think that's something we
Mhm.
haven't talked about in a while. Who would
Sure.
this work for? It's going to be a seller who has equity, clearly. In this case, because
Mhm.
they're taking back 40%, they need to have at least 40% equity. Let's be clear.
Right.
Not
Right.
for a high leverage seller. It wouldn't work.
Right.
But it's going to be someone who's maybe looking to get out that still wants income.
Hmm.
I promise you, an owner who is looking to sell their properties because they're done and they own it free and clear,
Hmm.
90% of them, if you ask them and they're honest, they will tell you a lump sum of money is a problem.
Right.
It's a problem. I'm going to have a 500,000 or a million or whatever it is in my account. That's a problem for me. A, it could be attacked by other family members. B, it's going to be attacked by Uncle Sam. And C, they're not going to have the monthly income that they used to get off the rental. You can fix all of that
Right.
with a small seller second. It is so powerful. You have to learn the talk track. You have to know what's going on.
Right.
But yeah, 50-40-10 is great for everyone. And again, getting in for 10% down is amazing. What do you think?
Agreed. Along with 30-year fixed money, you can hold title under an entity. Our loans don't report to the credit bureaus. Your down payment money can just be sourced and doesn't need to be seasoned. There's so many different advantages to our programs that I think we haven't spoken in a while. Sometimes some of those little,
Yeah,
you know,
little
devils
nuggets
in the
in.
details of some of the nuances with our products that are very, you know, impactful and helpful with a lot of different borrowers. We just don't get a chance to talk about, you know, that often.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's worth it definitely to just give me a holler, just in case, you know, Plan B doesn't all, you know, doesn't hurt. And also in some cases, some of these unique situations that take creative financing or flexible
Yeah,
programs, I think that's where I would really kind of shine. And slowly but surely, people are starting to, you know, kind of come back and realize that again, because we were a little bit more rigid. Is probably a good
yeah,
word
sure.
as of last year,
For
but things
Q4,
have
yeah.
really loosened up. Yeah, we're very flexible. I mean, I'm doing a deal right now with a 618 mid FICO score, which normally we need a minimum 650, you know,
Mm,
but they don't need that much of a LTV, that 55%, you know, and it
yeah.
made sense and everything else kind of, you know, fell in
Back to
line.
being a make sense lender, exceptions.
Correct. Seasoned investor, all the other good aspects about it outside of that particular, you know, kind of deal. But yeah,
Yeah, this is why everybody, again, one of the things you see on my 7 rules of one rental at a time is you got to grow your network. Everybody
right.
knows there's a real estate market. Very few people pay attention to the lending market. You need to have these providers because you never know when they're going to be helpful. So Stephen, if somebody wanted to reach out, how would they do that?
Again, just email me to sdao@velocitymortgage.com. In the subject line, the acronym ORAAT, so we make it past the firewall. Body of email, simple description, what you're looking for. Address would be great. At least city and state to make sure we lend there. Your mid FICO score, best phone number to reach you at. 24, 40 hours, I'll be in touch.
Yeah, and then lastly, folks, I want to remind you we have a playlist on this channel called Deep Dive. Stephen was nice enough to take his one of his Saturdays and give us almost 2 hours of just Q&A on the 50-40-10. So if you want to get in the weeds, go
Right.
search my playlist called Deep Dive, find the one where we talk about the 50-40-10. Stephen, I appreciate all you do. Nice to catch up. We will talk next week. Take care.
You too, buddy. Take care. Have a good
Thank you.
weekend.